But great to be here. It's great to have a discussion with Cryptoflation, and yeah, let's get on with it.
All right, it's good to meet you too. So before we get into Orca, I would like to know a bit about you, if you don't mind. How did you get into crypto, and what is your background overall?
Yeah, certainly. So my name is, well, the handle I go by is Nautilus. My real name is Boaz. My background in crypto began when I was at school, which feels a very, very, very long time ago now. Would have been in the late 2000s and the very early 2010s, so probably about 2010, I would say. And that was when I was at school, and it was when Bitcoin was around, but it was only around, or was only really known about because of things like the Silk Road back in the day. And I was quite into computers, things like that. And it was from my knowledge of Bitcoin through my, me browsing the internet in my free time when I was as a school kid that made me aware of Bitcoin. So I was peripherally aware of it, but only got more and more interested in it through the early 2010s. And then, after you leave school, I then got into TradFi in the financial advice industry in the UK, and then from there, became even more interested in crypto, mostly in Bitcoin. But then over time, you get interested in other chains, things like that. From there, went into investment research, still in the TradFi space. But of course, I became, as crypto got bigger and bigger, witnessed the 2017 bull run and then the 2018 bust. And despite all of the collapsing, the collapses that we saw in 2018, you could still see that there was all this development going on in the background, and it really wasn't going away. So I thought it would be a good idea to still remain very, very open to crypto. And then eventually just made the leap more recently to leave TradFi behind almost entirely and to focus on crypto as my main job. And I found that through Orca.
That is amazing. And what is your role in Orca?
I run mostly on the communication side, but I'm part of the core strategy team. So we run quite a tight ship at Orca. We don't have a huge team. And a lot of people do sort of multiple different roles. And so on my side, it's mostly on the communication side, with some of our, say, for example, our updates to our aqua farms and some of our press announcements, that kind of thing.
That's good to hear. I will translate this quickly. فالضيف مالنا اسمه بوز، هو تعلم أو دش في الكريبتو تقريبا في 2010. عقب ما خلص المدرسة دش القطاع المالي أو المصرفي العادي، مو في الكريبتو. بس عقب ما شاف في الكريبتو يعني دش فيه و 2017 2018 كان هو في القطاع الردي وشاف إنه في له مستقبل، فهد شغلته اللي كان في القطاع المصرفي القديم كليا وبدأ يركز على الكريبتو فول تايم. وحين حاليا هو في أوركا مسؤول عن الكوميونيكيشن باختصار يعني. Alright, so since people are unaware, we have a bunch of members that are unaware of Orca. If you just give us a quick brief of what is Orca before we dive in.
Yeah, certainly. So Orca is a decentralized exchange, a DEX, and an automated market maker, or AMM, on the Solana blockchain. So we like to think that we are the most ergonomic, the most easy to use decentralized exchange, at least in Solana. We're very, very simple to connect to and to swap Solana tokens from one to the other. More recently, we have launched a concentrated liquidity AMM, which is much more capital efficient. We can sort of dive into a bit about what that means. But our main focus is on using DeFi, decentralized finance, very simple, while at the same time very capital efficient, very technologically able at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the best thing about Orca. It is unmatched by the other, how easy it is to use. حق اللي ما فهم، هما عبارة عن منصة تداول غير مركزية، نفس إذا سمعت عن سوشي سواب أو يوني سواب. ميزتها عاد إنه الاستخدام وايد سهل، الانترفيس اللي أنت تتعامل معاه وايد سهل، تقدر تشبك، تداول، تقدر تضيف سيولة بكل سهولة. وتوهم ضافوا ميزة جديدة اسمها concentrated liquidity، أو يعني تزويد السيولة بطريقة مركزة، عشان يعني عشان تستخدم راس مالك بطريقه افضل، بس هاي طبعا يناسب حق اللي عندهم خبره اكثر في الديفاي. Alright, so as you said, Orca at this moment is a decentralized exchange. You can swap at liquidity, get some rewards, and now with the concentrated liquidity service, which is pretty interesting for the more experienced DeFi users. But what about the near and long term? Are there any potential products or services you guys are thinking or navigating at this moment?
Yeah, certainly. It's quite a crazy time for us at the minute because we do have quite a few things going on at the same time. So very recently, we've launched our first V0 of our governance. So for running the Orca decentralized exchange and AMM as a DAO, as a decentralized autonomous organization, we had our first vote, which was on a bug bounty program last week, and it did pass as well. So this allows people who own the Orca token itself to vote on what happens next for the entire protocol. And we're very excited about that. It's very early days, of course, as it is V0, but this is something that we're going to be doing more and more of as we decentralize and pass more power over the protocol, ultimately to our community. And with our concentrated liquidity, this is something, again, that's very new. So our beta will actually end on Monday, and we'll be publicly launching it. So up until now, in order to interact with the beta, in order to interact with concentrated liquidity, take advantage of them, you'd need an Orcanaut NFT. But we are now confident in our concentrated liquidity AMM functioning well, and we'll be launching that just on Monday with 9 new concentrated liquidity pools as well. So in the medium term, it'll be on developing our governance, passing on, allowing for more proposals, allowing for the community to vote on what we do more. And at the same time, developing our existing AMM to the concentrated liquidity side. So at the minute, the overwhelming majority of our pools are still constant product, your standard AMM pool. Mm-hmm. We will be migrating our existing ones to concentrated liquidity pools, and at the same time, adding more concentrated liquidity pools as well.
Yeah, I'm one of those who use the concentrated liquidity with the early access holders that the NFT holders have. I think these features are pretty cool, actually, to reward them somehow. فاللي قاله انه حاليا انا سالته شنو مخططاتهم القريبه او البعيده، شنو يبون يضيفون في اوركا. فهو قال حاليا توهم اعلنوا او صار الحين مباشر يعني الجفرنس مالهم. الجفرنس يعني يكون حق الناس اللي عندهم العمله مالتهم اوركا يقدرون يقدمون اقتراحات، واذا صار تصويت عليه يطوف وينقبل ويشتغلون عليه، فكأنه يصير يعني البروجكت اكثر غير مركزي، more decentralized. هاي أول شيء. ثاني شيء قالوا إن الحين قاعد يركزون على اللي قلنا عنه، تزويد السيولة بطريقة مركزة، concentrated liquidity. يبون يطورونه أكثر لأنه هو تو شيء جديد. الأسبوع الجاي بيكون مفتوح حق العامة، حاليا هو مسكوك بس حق اللي موجودين النفتي مالهم. وآخر نقطة قالوا إنه في يعني في المدى القريب البعيد شوي بيركزون على انواع الاقتراحات اللي ممكن حاملين عملة اوركا يقدرون يكتبونها، في نفس الوقت بيطورون خلينا نقول الرياضيات مالت شلون البيع والشراء يصير في السيولة المركزة، لانه هو شيء جديد وشيء معقد. Alright, so I'm sure a lot of the listeners are actually not aware about this, but one of the most interesting and unique points of Orca, in my opinion, is the NFT integration. So for people who are unaware, from time to time, Orca reward their loyal users for doing some kind of an action by giving them an NFT. But here where it gets interesting. So Orca actually takes it a step further. In typical DeFi protocols, you may have seen they are doing this, but they stop after giving the NFT. But Orca actually add utility for those NFTs. So for example, there was a single-sided staking for Orca coin previously, and NFT holders were able to stake their NFT to get passive income. By the way, this was way before it's being a trend. Right now, you just recently started hearing about staking NFTs or nesting NFTs, but Orca in this regard was actually the leader. And so I have questions to you. Do you have any plan of integrating non-Orca NFTs with an interesting kind of utility in the platform?
That is a very good question. I would say not at the minute, though we certainly aren't putting anything off the table. So more recently with our beta, you needed an Orcanaut NFT in order to use it. And what we try to foster with our Orcanautical community, the folks who do own Orcanaut NFTs, is that this is effectively it's not our number one part of our community. We don't divide in that way, but it's for people who are really, really into the Orca brand and really want to interact more deeply with the Orca brand and get first access to things as they come out, and to be able to have almost VIP status when speaking to the developers and the core team. And so when we were developing the concentrated liquidity AMM, we thought it would only make sense if they were able to access it first, trial it out, tell us what you like about it, what you don't like, give more feedback, because the folks who are really into Orca are often they can be very sophisticated, but they do know lots about the Orca brand and what we're all about, so they can tell us where we're maybe moving off the mark when it's not so easy to use, things like that. So that's what we did with the Orcanaut at the minute, most recently with the beta, and we shall be doing more in the future. We can't be too prescriptive with what our plans are for the Orcanaut NFTs. But it's certainly not something that there's going to be forgotten. It's not like we just launch these NFTs and we got the money and then we'll go away, because in this case we didn't even take the money. We actually we gave 3/4 of it to charity, and the remaining quarter went to the artist. So we didn't do this as a fundraising effort in the first place. But in the future, we shall be doing more things with our Orcanautical community. But at the same time, there is in the crypto space more broadly and DeFi more broadly, there is a grand fascination with NFTs as the be all and end all. And we do have to zoom out and take a holistic approach, a broad approach to exactly what we're trying to do with Orca.
I see. So for now, you are trying to focus on giving more utility to the Orcanaut or the Orca NFTs before navigating or exploring other NFTs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that'd be a fair approach. We're not totally Orcanauts only. We have, of course, Orca has featured in other NFTs out there. But yeah, in terms of the Orca protocol in general, the Orcanaut NFTs are our go-to guys.
Alright. فأنا سألت أن هم يستخدمون ال NFTs بطريقة حلوة في المنصات مالهم، إن إذا أنت استخدمت منصاتهم أو ساعدتهم أو تكون أنت كلويال كاستمر حقهم، يعطونك بالمقابل NFT. وهذا NFT مو بس صورة، لا، فيها استخدام، فيها مزايا. مثلا هم كانوا يعطون كنا نفس VIP، كأنك تكون VIP، يعطونك دخول حق بعض يسمونه الخدمات اللي عندهم قبل الناس، ممكن يعطونك أرباح زيادة، يحطونها الآن استخدامات مميزة حق اللي يدعمون المنصة أوركا. فأنا سألته إذا كان عندهم يمكن فكرة أو شيء إنه يضيفون NFTs بس مو بمال أوركا، غير تخيل مثلا دي جي نيبس واحد عنده يقدر عنده يدش موقع في المنصة ويقدر يستيكت أو شيء كذي. فهو قال حاليا هو قاعد يركزون على NFTيات مالهم أوركا فقط عشان يعطون مزايا حق الداعمين لهم أول، فقبل ما يتفرعون ويروحون أماكن ثانية قاعد يحاولون يضيفون قيمة أكثر وأكثر حق حاملين هال NFT. وآخر استخدام لها أنا حتى كنت أستخدمه الأوركانوتس NFT مالهم، تقدر تستخدمه عشان تحصل صلاحية استخدام الconcentrated liquidity. Okay, so I saw recently that, as you said, Orca launched its governance page, V0, which falls within the vision of the road of decentralization of Orca, as I heard from the founders in one of the podcasts. But I wanted to know, as an Orca holder, what type of proposals that can be created now and the process of it.
Well, it's the sky's the limit, really, when it comes to what can be proposed. It's whether or not it would be passed that's the big thing. if you do want to create a proposal, you do need to be able to deposit 100,000 Orca. So it's not like you'll be spending that Orca, but you do need to be able to deposit it to prove that you do have a vested interest in Orca. And for it to pass, it needs 500,000 yes votes at least, just in order to pass. Of course, if you get more than 500,000 no votes, then it won't pass. But that's over the course of a week. You're going to need to get 500,000 yes votes, and there's one Orca per vote. So if you need 500,000 Orca tokens deposited that have said yes in order for the proposal to pass. And in order, if you want to get access to that, you want to try it out, see existing proposals, just head on over to governance.orca.so.
So, for example, if right now an Orca holder propose a revenue sharing model for Orca, and it received the 500,000 votes, will the team implement it, or do they have like an override for a proposal? Even if it passed, they can not go ahead with it.
Well, if the proposal passed, this is for us to complete. It would need to be a really very controversial, or something that would be really quite strange, I would imagine, before anyone would be thinking of trying to overwrite it. So again, if it was something that was so contrary, I mean, somebody could write a counter proposal that would be against it. Now, imagine it would be the more democratic, decentralized method of going against something like that. But that's not something we're anticipating at all.
Oh, that sounds amazing. فأنا سألته حاليا نفس ما قلنا يقدرون الحين حاملين العملة أوركا يصوتون، فقلت له الحين هل ممكن أي واحد يحط أي اقتراح في باله؟ قال إيه، بس لازم يصوتون له عشان يطوف. عشان يطوف لازم 500,000 فوت، كل فوت عبارة عن 1 أوركا، فتحتاج يعني تقريبا مليونين عشان تطوف أي اقتراح. فأنا قلت له يعني حاليا أنا أقدر اسوي اقتراح ان مثلا يوزعون ارباحهم على كل حاملين اوركا، اقدر اسوي هالشيء؟ قال اي يصير، واذا قبل التيم يعني الفريق مالهم لازم يسوونه، بس في حدود. قال اذا شيء سيء بيضر مستقبل اوركا، فهني عندهم يقدرون يلغونه، حتى لو انقبل، حتى لو طاف التصويت يقدرون يلغونه. وهاي ترى هاي الشيء مهم وايد في اي مشروع ديفاي، لان مشاريع الديفاي بتشوفونها ان غالبا عملاتهم يوزعونها ببلاش وما فيها اي استخدام. فهذين الجفرنس التصويت يفيد عشان يعطي مزايا حق العمله نفسها، فعقب لها قيمه العمله، يمكن تحصل جزء من الربح، ممكن تقدر يعني تحصل تصويت، يعني قوه حق التصويت، الناس يشترونها من عندك وكذي وغيره. So quick question is, Orca going multi-chain or cross-chain, or are you just staying on Solana for now?
We're staying on Solana for now. We are very committed to the Solana blockchain, but at the same time, we are open to tokens that have been taken multi-chain. So you'll find on the Orca DEX and indeed in our pools, we have plenty of not whirlpool, sorry, but wormhole assets. For example, Terra and Ethereum, for that matter, wrapped assets like that. We're certainly not blockchain. What would be the right word for it? We're not so maximalistic and say no, Solana only. But in terms of what Orca is and as a protocol, we will be staying on the Solana protocol, the Solana blockchain for the time being.
All right. فسألته أنا هل هم يفكرون إذا يروحون شبكة ثانية، لأن حاليا أوركا فقط في شبكة سولانا. قال ما في بالهم أي مخطط، بس هم في المنصة مالتهم حتى لو هي كانت في شبكة سولانا للحين يدعمون عملات برا الشبكة. يعني بتلقى مثلا عملة إثيريوم، عملة بيتكوين، صح بيكونون رابت مو بالأصليين، بس هم مو متعصبين على سولانا يعني. وهاي الشيء ليش انا جبتهم، وهاي ليش انا براويكم عقب ديمو، لان ميزه اوركا انه مو بالعملات اللي فيها بس عملات سولانا، لا تقدر تحصل عملات ثانيه تحصل عليها مدخول جانبي، يعني حتى ما يحتاج يكون عندك سول، اذا عندك بس ايثيريوم تقدر تحصل دخل من استخدامك لها. All right. I want your thoughts on projects like DeFi Kingdom or DeFi Land and how they are gamifying DeFi in some way. Do you think it is impactful? And what Orca is planning to do regarding this? Are they touching this sector or not?
It's a very interesting space to watch, and as we see this experimentation in the DeFi gaming space, it's certainly something that if we can accommodate it, we will. With token listings and the like. One key part of the DeFi gaming space that me personally I find very interesting is how it makes using DeFi easy, which is also what we I think have managed to achieve with Orca, where making a swap and using it is it's not only easy, but it's actually quite a gratifying experience. I actually came to Orca before I was a member of the core team, and I was just coming to Orca as a user, as an investor. It was incredible for me using Orca for the first few times and just making a few swaps because of how it was not only simple to use, but it was actually quite fun to use. It was almost addictive. It was almost like I was playing a game, which can be dangerous in some ways. When obviously investing is not a game and it's something to take very seriously. But when it comes to the ease of use, this is something which is a great attribute, I think, on the Orca protocol. And of course, from there, I was like, wow, well, I really want to get involved with this project because this has such promise. When it comes to DeFi gaming as a sector, we don't have any one specific house view on what DeFi gaming is and what it might do. But it's certainly something that is growing in DeFi, and it's something that if we can accommodate it, we will. We certainly don't have any view that this is a bad thing whatsoever. It's very interesting, and to speak to projects which are working in this space, and if they want to list their tokens, things like that.
I see. Yeah, I saw. There was like very, very simple game you have on one of your pages using your NFT or Qanat. So I thought, like, okay, maybe you guys are trying to navigate this sector now slowly.
Yeah. It's with the Pixelnaut team, you can connect your wallet and play a few games with your Orcanauts. Very, very cute, very adorable, and it's something that we developed a little bit more during Riptide with the Pixelnauts team, and we'll actually be announcing a couple of things about that next week, perhaps. But I wouldn't go too far into sort of the DeFi gaming angle of it there. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly another way that you can interact with their NFTs and have a bit more fun.
alright. أنا سألته إن في شنو رأيه في البروجكتات الألعاب اللي يدمجون الديفاي مع الألعاب مثل ديفاي كينجدم أو ديفاي لاند، إذا سمعتوا عنهم. هم لعبة، لكن من تحت اللعبة يعني في الباك جراوند اللي قاعد يصير هي أنت قاعد تسوي معاملات ديفاي، فميزته إنه يكون كني يسهل عليك دخولك في الديفاي. فهو قال انه هو يشوف هالشيء يعني حلو ويخلي الديفاي وايد سهل حق المستخدمين العامه يعني. فهو حاليا هو في لانه بعد اوركا سهل الاستخدام وحلو، يعني مثل ما يقول هو بعد يدمن الواحد عليه، فهو تقريبا في القطاع مالهم، يعني هو مو بشيء وايد بعيد دمج الالعاب الديفاي بالنسبه لهم. قالوا اذا بيسوونه بيكون بدون توكنز ولا شيء، واذا قدروا بيسوونه ليش لا، يعني هم مو ضد هالشيء. بس حاليا انا مو واضح الشبك الجيم والديفاي ما في يعني مصطلح ثابت، فهم شوي قاعد يتعلمون عليه. Alright, I have one more question before giving the floor to any listeners if they have any question. So this may be more technical, I'm not sure, but in high level at the same time. So now we see that concentrated liquidity protocols in Solana starting to pop up left and right, like Crema, Infinity, Cycora, and so on. And how DEX aggregators work is winner takes it all. The less slippage will get all the volume. So I wanted to know, since you just launched your concentrated liquidity service, I wanted to know your performance compared to them, if you have some kind of a gauge, and if there is any plan to, if you are behind right now, to improve your efficiency.
I wouldn't comment on our competitors, I don't think, when it comes to comparing how efficient one is over the other, or what the yields have been, or things like that. As we are just taking from beta, and we are going to publicly launch it on Monday. But I will say that ultimately the reason why we are pursuing concentrated liquidity is because it is simply a much more capital efficient manner for both market makers to provide liquidity, and at the same time for traders to trade at the best prices. So when it comes to the capital efficiency of all of the concentrated liquidity AMMs in Solana, ultimately it's still a very, very small wedge of the total trading that goes on in trading, not only in Solana, but across DeFi on aggregate. Concentrated liquidity is not massively popular yet when it comes to the majority of those volumes. And so for the few concentrated liquidity AMMs that exist at the minute, we're still actually very small relative to the broader DeFi space, because it's still much easier. You can be very passive when providing liquidity on a constant product AMM. So I would say the reason we've done this is because we want more efficiency. Our competitors are of course, have a similar idea. We want more efficiency, and ultimately, the competition is only going to make markets more efficient in Solana, which is, I think, in the best interest of everybody in DeFi in Solana and for Solana itself. But we're still very small relative to the amount of trading volumes that are being traded on DeFi. So we're at the very thin end of a wedge, and the reason we've gone for whirlpools with concentrated liquidity is because we see concentrated liquidity will ultimately, in our view, occupy the majority of trading in DeFi. This is something that is going to take the entire DeFi market.
Yeah, I agree with you. Every time I use any decentralized exchange aggregator and Solana, I always see that it's routing through one of these concentrated liquidity protocols. Okay, so I will translate it really quick. فأنا سألت الحين حاليا ال concentrated liquidity protocols أو البرامج أو المنصات اللي تعطيك هالخدمة إنك تقدم سيولتك بطريقة مركزة، قاعد يطلعون وايد في سولانا. وحاليا إذا تستخدم aggregator مثل تستخدم برنامج يجمع لك كل المنصات التداول الغير مركزية في مكان واحد، غالبا هو بيختار الطريق الأرخص طبعا لك. فالطريق الأرخص دائما بيكون حق المنصات اللي تقدم هاي الخدمة، السيولة المركزة. فقلت له شنا الفايز ياخذ كل الفوليوم. فقلت له أنت حاليا مقارنة بالباقي شلون كفاءتكم، شلون نتائجكم؟ فهو قال حاليا ان هم لحن مو مفتوحين حق الببليك، لحن خاص، هو لحن الفا ستيج. الاسبوع الجاي بيبتدي اوبن، فما يقدر يقارن حاليا ولا يقدر يتكلم عن المنافسين له. بس قال انهم حاليا هم صغار ونسبيا، فيحتاجون يزيدون الكفاءة مالت الكونسنتريتد ليكويديتي. فباختصار هاي كان الجواب. Alright, so we'll open the questions floor.
أول شيء يعطيكم العافية، ما تقصرون من البداية ساعدتونا ما شاء الله. سؤالي عام بالنسبة أو البرامج الخاصة بالموبايل، دائما أحسها معقدة، غير مثلا سنترلايز مثل باينانس FTX، تحس سهل استخدامها. الشغلات الخاصة بالديفاي وباقي الشغلات الثانية أحسها مو مجهزة، مو موبايل فريندلي، صعبة استخدامها تحس بالموبايل. بس هي النقطة، ويعطيكم العافية.
Okay, Allah يعافيك. So he asked a question regarding mobile applications. So he said currently the only easy to use mobile applications are the centralized exchanges. However, the DeFi applications are more difficult to use. So I think he's trying to say, do you have plan to make a mobile application? If so, will it be easy to use?
That's a good question, Hussein. In terms of where we're looking, we're not thinking so much in terms of an actual app. that folks would download and then use. What we want is for folks to be able to use the browsers on their phones in order to interact with the Orca DEX that way, and use, say, mobile wallets, say, for example, Phantom's mobile wallet, and interact easily with the Orca DEX in that fashion. We think in order to make things as ergonomic as possible, going down the app route and having making sure that all of the app stores are happy with your program, having to update it and such, isn't probably the best way for us to go forward. As we do want it to be something that anyone can access really through the internet if they've got a Solana wallet. So the method we're going down, what we want to facilitate in future and make sure it's as smooth as possible, is to allow folks to access the Orca DEX and AMM through the browser on their phone and using a mobile wallet that's based on their phone, for example, like Phantom's mobile wallet. Hopefully that answers the question.
سيد تبيني أترجم اللي قاله؟
تسلم، ما تقصر، لا فاهم.
أوكي تمام.
يعطيك العافية، شكرا جزيلا على كل اللي تقدمونه لنا صراحة.
أضلين لكم.
يعطيك العافية.
Okay, we have one text question from Discord. He asked, how can we use the NFT other than the game for the concentrated pool? It was mentioned. So is there any other uses for it? And also, how can we activate it? Do we just purchase it and link our wallet on Orca? This was the questions.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question regarding activating it. You can buy an Orca NFT just from Eden, and it will appear in your wallet. But when it comes to sort of future uses for it and folks thinking of the NFTs in that way, I would say you shouldn't really be buying an Orca NFT if you really, really like the Orca brand and you want to have it just because it's an adorable NFT, rather than thinking forward to should I speculate on this because they're going to roll out these future things for it. That's not the kind of ownership we're trying to encourage with the Orca NFTs.
اوكي جات يو. فالسؤال كان انه شنو استخدامات NFT مالهم، فهو قال احنا انتم لازم ما تفكرون شنو الاستخدامات، انت المفروض تشتري كانه صوره حلوه كيوت، مو تفكرون انه يمكن ادخل فيها فلوس، يمكن عندي مميزات ثانيه، هاي يكون شيء فرعي لازم ما تفكرون فيها اللي تشترون. وايد ترى اللي قاله هاي النصيحه ترى تطبقها المفروض حق كل NFT. انت ما يصير تشتري NFT بس عشان احتماليه انك تدخل لك فلوس، لا انت اشتري اذا صدق عجبتك، عجب الصوره حتى لو راحت صفر. Woo, if you can ask us your question.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, hello. So my question is about the whirlpools. So right now, all pools pay out in Orca, am I right?
Well, whirlpools have emissions that are paid in Orca, but that's not all of the yield that you earn from it. They also earn fees from the pool.
Yeah, so since they're paid out in Orca, so you can essentially open a leverage position borrowing Orca, so you're short on Orca, and then it farms, and the Orca reward are then going to be LPing to a constant downward pressure. So how do you think the whirlpools should alleviate this to stop this downward pressure of just borrowing Orca, so then you're short, and then the rewards are paid out in Orca as well, and it just downward pressure every 15 minutes? How do you think the pools could alleviate this?
Right. So to clarify, the yields aren't just in Orca. So if you go into our whirlpools at the minute, so for example, with the Sol USDC pool, which has the most volume in our whirlpools, the majority of the yield that you earn from that are swap fees that are earned in Sol and USDC rather than just Orca. However, to answer your question, with Orca emissions more generally being negative for the Orca prices, is something that we think about. Of course, we would prefer folks who really like Orca and who are yield farming wouldn't just be immediately selling their Orca using some of the compounding strategies. But of course, this does happen. Thankfully, with whirlpools, they're much more capital efficient, so we actually don't need to emit as much Orca in general in order to still beat the amount of yield that you can earn on a constant product pool on your standard AMM. So emissions don't need to be quite so strong. So in our latest Whirlpool, our first Whirlpool's rotation really, but our latest Aquafarm rotation update that we published just a couple of days ago, you'll see that we have actually reduced the amount of Orca that is being emitted. So we've gone from 300,000 Orca per week to 250,000. And as we migrate more of our pools from the constant product model to Whirlpools, to concentrated liquidity, similarly, we won't need to emit as much Orca in order to make the yields very, very competitive there. So hopefully that answers the question for folks who are afraid of Orca emissions being a constant downward pressure on price.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Also, I think Atlas, with the governance now is live, I think a lot of the tokenomics can be, not say fixed, but at least improved maybe, to give more utility, to reduce the sell pressure maybe overall.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's certainly an angle on the Orca token.
Someone in Discord asking, what's the future goal of Orca? What are they trying to achieve in the crypto world? Most projects have a main goal in which they slowly progress to. What's Orca's goal, and what are they trying to provide at the end?
That's a great question, and it is, of course, the reason why. Why do we exist in the first place? What was the whole point of it all anyway? And the answer to that question, I would say, is the end goal of Orca is to become the apex AMM. We did write a Medium post on this a little while ago, and our understanding of the apex AMM, the best automated market maker and the best DEX in DeFi, and of course, in Solana first, but in DeFi would be our ultimate ambition. And when we say the apex AMM and the apex DEX for that matter, what we're meaning is incredibly capital efficient, so really easy to use, really low fees, best prices, and at the same time offering high yields to our market makers at the same time. The best capital efficiency all around would be our dream goal. And at the same time, we want it to be very easy for people who are new to DeFi, and not just new to Solana, but new to DeFi in general. So we do have, just for folks starting out, a lot of folks in DeFi, we do think we're very good at accommodating new users who just want to give it a try. They've heard about DeFi from somewhere, maybe from a friend, or maybe they've seen it in a newspaper, and they just want to give it a go. And we do have a Medium post called Orca for Everyone. It's a small series on how to get started. For anybody who is listening, who is just curious about Solana, curious about using a decentralized exchange, I would encourage you to check it out. If you just search Orca for Everyone, you should get a link to the guide. And the guide is very short, because it doesn't actually require that much in order to get started in DeFi. But at the same time, we do also want to accommodate, sophisticated market making, and that's what we are aiming to achieve through our concentrated liquidity pool. So allowing our liquidity providers to provide liquidity exactly where they want, all along the price curve. And we haven't, discussed too much about concentrated liquidity in this call, but just as an idea to everybody who is listening, who may be not familiar with concentrated liquidity. If you are liquidity mining, some people call it just staking, but if you are a liquidity provider for a token pair on a decentralized exchange or on an automated market maker, you are providing liquidity. You are supporting trading at every possible price for that token pair, from effectively zero through to infinity. Your liquidity is being divided up and then spread all the way across this infinite curve, ultimately. And it's not very capital efficient. It's very simple, and that's why it's been quite successful. It's very easy to do. But when it comes to actually earning yield on your capital, it is very inefficient. And through concentrated liquidity, it allows our market makers to, as the name suggests, concentrate their liquidity around specific prices. So actually choose where they're, at what price they will support trading with their capital. And this makes things much, much more capital efficient, and allows also market makers to be much more sophisticated and in some ways speculative, if they want to be, with how they provide their liquidity. So we want to be open to onboarding new people to DeFi and giving them an easy feel for what's going on in Solana and in the DeFi world more generally. But at the same time, we do want to accommodate sophisticated users who will bring lots of capital and ultimately make markets in Solana more efficient for everybody. Because the more efficient our markets are, the more capital efficient they are, it is in the best interest of everybody in Solana and the Solana ecosystem more generally. And we want to be part of the movement that makes that happen through concentrated liquidity. So yeah, I would say in short, we want to be the apex automated market maker on Solana. And we're doing that through a few different ways. Lastly, we also want to make sure that we are having a real world impact. So everything in crypto doesn't need to stay in crypto. The impact does not need to be constrained to the internet. This is something our co-founders are very convinced of, and arguably they've proven it already. So we do have the impact fund. So whenever you make a swap on Orca, you are contributing a small amount of the fees that you'll pay for that swap will go to our impact fund, and that impact fund is reserved for charitable donations when it comes to protecting the environment and fighting climate change. So we have, that's part of the core product for Orca is the impact fund, and we will be giving regular updates on what we're doing with the fund. So most recently, our first ever governance vote a while back, late last year, was to vote for which charity was going to receive our first donation from the impact fund, and went for Ocean Conservancy because, of course, we do have the Orca killer whale as our logo, so it fit in quite well. But we shall be making further donations in the future and allowing our users to feel very good when they're using Orca, because they are actually having an impact on the real world. We'll be sharing in detail what Ocean Conservancy is doing with our funds in the near future, and at the same time, just with Orcanauts, for example, to 3/4 of the mint revenue that was earned from that is going to Aflatoon, which is a charity which teaches. It specializes in financial literacy programs for children, and we'll be doing that with a crypto edge to that. So teaching folks in the developing parts of the world how to use crypto and how to engage with this new level of the financial ecosystem. So easy to use, very, very capital efficient, and ultimately with a real world impact. I think that would be how I would describe what the end goal of Orca and what our main objective is with the Orca protocol.
Yeah, I think it's actually very amazing that from the beginning of the project of Orca, you had the donation or this fund as a core piece in your project from the beginning, and I was following it through the beginning, and I think this is actually pretty good because at the end of the day, yes, everybody wants money, but there are things that can have real life impact, and that's what your guys trying to do. And I believe also that you guys can actually achieve your goals of being the apex and the top DEX and AMM with the best capital efficiency in the market.
Well, good to have your support.
That was great having you here, Nautilus.